But I'm Peter Radsliff, CEO of Presto and chairman of the Aging Technology Alliance. And come down and see us talk downstairs. And I have the honor of having a phenomenal panel here. And I'm going to introduce them in the reverse order of how they're going to talk today. And we're going to really talk to you in more of a meet the press kind of style. It's not going to be, we're not going to preach at you. We're going to try to talk amongst ourselves and really try to find out more about ourselves during this discussion and involve you guys as well. So I encourage interaction with you guys, and we'll be asking you some questions, and audience participation gets points. Okay. First of all, to my left is John Marick, who is co-founder and CEO of Consumer Cellular. Everyone give a welcome to John. Hello, thank you, John. Next is Bill Lyon, who is the Director of Product Development for LifeStation. Thank you, Bill. And then Denise Fletcher, who is the Chief Innovation Officer for ACS, a XEROX company. Thank you, Denise. And we're here. Let's start off with a little bit of context, I think. A little bit of context setting where, Denise, we're going to have you go first and sort of set the stage here. Talk about the lay of the land of what this presentation is all about, which is really the me to the we generation. It's how we as businesses craft our offerings out to an audience and engage them, keep them, acquire them, and make them just have thrilling customer service, even though it's any particular challenge of any particular product and in this market segment. So Denise, go right ahead.
Okay, Peter, thank you. I actually had a few slides, and I don't know if they're going to bring those up, but I know a lot of people are wondering what XEROX is doing in the healthcare business, but XEROX is about a $22 billion company. And when they acquired ACS a couple years ago, they picked up a huge market in the healthcare segment, particularly in the services area. So ACS, which is the company I come from, that is now part of the XEROX family, provides BPO services to a ton of folks in the United States in the healthcare market. And those are just some quick facts up there, but we're perfectly positioned to serve the 47 and older population and pulling together solution sets as we age.
There's a mouse in front of you, I think, which is...
I thought you meant a real mouse.
Is it working there? Left one? If not, I'll just advance it for you.
Come on, Bill.
Nope, no worries.
There we go. I think we went forward, like quite a bit.
How far do you want?
Just
back?
the next one.
More? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So some of the things that I think are very interesting that, XEROX is taking a keen interest in and we're working on solution sets around is really looking at the new core of a healthcare experience, which is mobile health, bringing healthcare to the home. As we look at health reform and a lot of different things that are happening on the regulation front, we know that doctors are going to be leaving their practices. But there's another fact, nurses are leaving as well. And I don't think people are paying attention to that, but those folks deliver the bulk of long-term care services. And with the loss of nurses, we really have to be starting to think of smarter solutions. So I really like this presentation that IDC had put up at a healthcare collaborative that I was at, because they're talking about an integrated solution. You really have to look at it from the point of when someone is engaged in a setting and it automatically extends into a long-term care solution. And I'm guessing that many of us in this room have had a parent who has been affected by it. I've had 4 on my husband's side and both of my parents, and I can relate to every one of those experiences and every one of them being different.
Let's ask the audience, how many people have dealt with a long-term care solution with their parents? Okay.
And I guess I would ask, did you find that when that situation happened, were all the solutions that you needed presented to you in one integrated opportunity? No? And that's what I found. And I can speak from my first experience where my mother-in-law was hit by a car. She was out loved to walk every day in her neighborhood. Somebody happened to be backing out of their driveway and didn't see her. They had boxes in their car, and she shattered her hip. And all of a sudden you go from a day where you're at work and you get that dreaded phone call, and now you've got somebody in the hospital, and you have to call in a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter. You have to figure out long-term care, and you're trying to restructure that home so that they can go from a step-down facility into their home and recuperate. And these are the kinds of issues that we're facing today. And those numbers of 8,000 people aging into 65 every single day, every day in the U.S. is going to increase the number of folks that we have to service as we get older. We're all going to get old. We're all going to die. It's going to happen. We just have to face it.
On that encouraging note.
So some of the things that I like that are happening on the front, an iPad, I happen to have one, I love it. Mobile health technology, there's a lot of opportunities, but those solutions are standalone right now. XEROX is working on a few. I know the folks that are going to be speaking with me are working on some, but we need to think about bringing them together, not selling them a la carte, but selling them as a patient-centric solution, so when that life event happens, you're talking to the family and you have one place to go to answer all the questions. So this was a survey that was done. IDC actually presented this. And these are some of the things that, if you look at today, that are the most important out there with the folks that are in a home health setting. And if you're walking around the event area, you're probably seeing some of these solutions out there on an a la carte basis. On the right-hand side is a new patent that XEROX has out on a smart pill dispenser. This not only is a smart pill dispenser, but it's personalized at the pharmacy. So the pills are lined up by the pharmacy for the patient. It has the patient's name on it. It actually has smart tags on it, so they know that when the patient pops it open, they're taking their meds for that day, and they're taking the meds that they were supposed to take.
I know in my family, the med issue was a big issue. How big of it is it in a broader context of a society?
It's really big. If you look at patients in terms of scripts, more than 50% don't fill their scripts. And then you look at who fills the scripts and uses the medicine, there's about a 50% non-adherence. So the non-adherence problem and the not filling the scripts is a big issue in America today, and I'm sure it's a global issue as well. And this is something we need to solve. So the last point, this is our long-term care vision at XEROX ACS. We are working on an integrated solution. The biggest focus that we have right now is in the long-term care management. I know a lot of you people, all of us think of long-term care as for old people. It isn't. It's long-term care. You have to think of it as more than just Medicaid. It could be Medicare. It could be a child who's hit by a car and is all of a sudden disabled. So we have to come up with solutions that are integrated, and that's really what this footprint is speaking to.
So how does this do with at-home care then? How does this lead you to at-home care?
So it's on.
Yeah, the question then is, how does this lead to at-home care? Because most of us here, as we talked as a group, are really focused on what can we do before people are institutionalized. And so the question is, how does this lead to that sort of at-home care? The LifeStation business model. This is really very much about collaboration with the family and with the end user. Kind of a statement that I think everyone would accept but probably doesn't even think about, but at the time when you have a need for the type of service that a LifeStation supplies, which is getting you the right, timely, and appropriate response for whatever event you may have in your home. This is a very emotional moment. People do not want to be sold during an emotional moment. They want to have unique service that actually fits their situation. And one of the bellwethers that's made this particular company very, very successful in my judgment has been that ability to collaborate with families and that ability to recognize that this is not about an individual, It's about the community around that individual, whether it be family, friends, or neighbors. So the statistic you see on the slide is a very important one, but it speaks to a lot of the subject matter that you've heard throughout the day. Kind of be repetitive here. It's about the boomer mom being centric to the decision being made. And in the LifeStation situation, we find very clearly that they also have someone else typically paying for the service, in whole or in part, which tells you one more time, this is a family network decision of support. Very important to the family, very important to the end user. This is not the type of decision you make, bear with me on this, as a Kmart Blue Light special purchase. There is a special place somewhere in the afterlife for someone who takes care of mom on the blue light special basis. You have to have a solid monitoring relationship.
Are you saying that, it sounds to me like that's a very complicated sales process. I'd love to know a bit about that also.
I don't think it's complicated, and in fact, I believe the LifeStation experience is that it's a very high-touch communication with the family. This is not the type of service relationship that you fill out something online and necessarily think it's going to happen automatically. The individuals involved will get involved with our monitors, with the people that are in our internal sales groups, and we'll talk about their individualized needs, wanting a solution that is well tailored to them and tailored to them for the long term. And it's why we have what we refer to in the trade as stickiness. We have people that stick with us and stay with us because it's not that complex. And in fact, the objective of all of our interaction is to make very simple the decisions they'd want to have.
So Bill, I have a question. How would you know to reach out to LifeStation if a parent gets disabled? I mean, how do I know? My mother-in-law's in the hospital now, and I've got to deal with a long-term solution so that I can put her in the home, and I can figure out the carpenter and the electrician and all of that, but how do I figure out the solutions that are out there that could fit the family needs?
It's a good question. In today's world, there is a lot of research that obviously is done on the internet. That has really become the communications commonality. And what we found in our own survey work is that our particular website, the LifeStation website, is the most visited website of any of the companies that are in our business, far and away. And that's because the informational component there helps people as they begin to do research and helps people as they begin to think about what must I do next to take care of mom or dad or Uncle Joe or whomever it may be, and who can I trust that is going to have that communication with me. So to circle back into this, developing trust with that family that is in support and with that consumer who's going to be the end user is absolutely critical to the long-term relationship and to building this business in a way that people will continue to be with you.
Next.
Trust levels. Let me give you a personal experience because we talk a lot here about anecdotes for what they are. My mom's 85, still alive, still talks to me twice a week to tell me how I should live my life better. I'm sure no one else in this room has that experience. It's trust that you develop with this service provider that I think is the hallmark of what has made this a very successful company, and that is we are part of their family. We have consumers who are LifeStation customers who talk to us with great frequency. It's not always about pushing the emergency button because they have to have a vehicle dispatched. Quite the contrary. The vast preponderant majority of contacts with us are because they have a need to talk to someone they trust, and we're part of the family. One more time, we're part of the family. So like my mom at 85, it is that community outreach that makes that family around her work well. And for me, because she lives in California and I live in Connecticut, it gives me great assurance that someone will be there to help that has the qualifications to help quickly, promptly, with a sense of propriety for her dignity, and with a level of trust that I would have in that solution if, in fact, I was there living next door to her. And it's all about how do you build trust. So the LifeStation experience has, I think, been one of extraordinary trust that they've built with the customer audience that we serve. And it all comes, again, about it's a high-touch business, and it's one, if you do it well, people will stick with you for a very long period of time. And recognizing this, we're interfacing with not just today's customer, but our customers in the next 10 and 20 years. Because that family network is a family network where they go back to those that they trust and those that they know have a credible connection with them. And we see that coming.
That's, I really like getting the lay of the land from you, Denise, and then seeing it applied in practice in a particular business category from Bill. This is really, I'm thinking right now, what can I do, what can I leave to go back for my company, start to become a better partner with these families thank you, stop that. Better partner with these families to really increase that user experience. And so for another view in that area of how to differentiate our businesses, John here is from Consumer Cellular, is going to tell us a little bit about his company.
Good. Thanks, Peter. Probably moving right along. So how many people out there have a cellular phone right now? Is there very many? I'm sure hopefully just about everybody by now. And in fact, not too long ago, the U.S. market finally crossed over where there's more wireless phones in use than there are population. So we know that not everybody's using one, so a lot of you probably have two or three, right? And so that's the market that Consumer Cellular goes after. And just to give you a kind of quick snapshot to where we're coming from, we're a wholesaler. The official term is MVNO, Mobile Virtual Network Operator, using the AT&T network. And we've been in business for about 16 years, based out in Portland, Oregon, but doing business using the AT&T network across the country. In terms of size, we've got about 700,000 customers, 450 employees, and about $185 million in revenue this last year. So we've been able to grow really, really rapidly, focusing completely on the senior market. And when you think about it, the wireless space really has become a commodity, right? There's a lot of places you can get wireless service, and there's some really, really big companies spending a whole lot of money to acquire customers. So when we look at how do we differentiate ourselves, there's a number of ways we do it, but we've really focused ourselves around service. So that's kind of the number one thing that sets ourselves apart as we tailor all our products and services towards that senior demographic. Really, what I wanted to talk about here in just a couple of minutes with you folks is how we've done that. And the first thing that we've really tried to do when we're looking at servicing the senior population and the boomer population is to make sure that we're solving a problem, first of all. And many times I think that people get focused on, you get the stereotypical view of a senior population or even the boomers, and we start looking at the fact that they need something special, right? Or that there's one big group of people that fall into this category. And that's really not the case. I think a great example, leading back to Consumer Cellular, is we've got phones that are designed really for simple, easy to use, big buttons, big screen, for somebody that needs that. But within that boomer demographic and above, there's a lot of people that want a smartphone. So we offer a smartphone as well. So we have to make sure that our products and services really kind of spend that, go all the way across the gamut and make sure that we're solving the problem for all the different groups of people. It's also, we've found that the group is not necessarily looking for something that's completely unique, right? I think that everybody, if you think back, I always kind of use the microwave as my example with my grandma, right? So, she cooked all her life in that stove and did a great job. Well, at some point microwaves came along. She wasn't the early adopter. She wasn't the first one to get one. But, sooner or later she put the microwave in and she started using that completely. And she's comfortable with that technology now. Well, that's the same thing with wireless phones. Is somebody in their 60s that was adverse to technology, got comfortable with a wireless phone a number of years ago because their kids told them it was a good idea to get it for safety, and now they're looking for all the benefits that a smartphone has to offer. So it's not that they need something different, but it's how do we make sure that we're able to meet the needs of that consumer for a product that's really designed for the mass population. really we found that when we're talking about how do we service that boomer population, it really starts at the beginning in the sales process. And so we want to make sure that we've set our expectations properly, that we've done a good job making sure that we're matching up our products and services with the needs of that customer. And there's a lot of people that aren't going to be a good fit for us. That's just something that we realize. But we want to make sure that we're finding those people, helping them find an avenue that is going to be a good fit, not that they're getting stuck with us and ultimately wanting to find a better fit, but find something that's going to meet their needs and get them to stick around for the long time. And if we can match people up front and do a good job at the beginning, then they're going to be much more satisfied and willing to stick with us. We also found that it's really important that we over-communicate things throughout the entire process. So making sure that we're communicating through the sales channels up front, the benefits of our service, making sure that that out-of-box experience when somebody starts service with us is really positive and that they're starting off on the right foot. And then ultimately making sure that the support is there to take care of them down the road. And removing those barriers to entry. What we want to do is make sure that people feel comfortable giving our service a try. One of the unique opportunities with us is even though we're a postpaid provider, so you're going to pick a rate plan, we're going to send you a bill every month, we're not going to sign you up for a long-term contract. So that's unique in the marketplace, which goes to kind of the credibility that we want to have with the people, that we're so committed to making sure that we're providing great service that if you're not happy, we're not going to make you stay with us. It also kind of forces us to make sure we're doing a great job because we know that we're going to lose those people and invest a lot of money up front to try and get them.
I'd call that putting your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, thank you. And ultimately differentiating with service. So as I mentioned, wireless service really is a commodity. There's a lot of places you can go to get that. It's been key for us, particularly in that boomer space, to make sure that we set ourselves apart in a number of ways, and service has been key for us. And that really has started for us in terms of creating an environment where you can provide exceptional service. And I like to use the example that we rolled out a couple of years ago, a service that was our usage alerts. So everybody has different usage needs, and their usage needs change over time. And we thought we were being extremely customer friendly and that we gave our customers a lot of opportunities to measure their usage and keep track of that. And then we even allowed them to change rate plans retroactively to make sure they're on the best plan possible. And we thought that was a great experience. Problem was, people continued to end up on the wrong rate plan because they had some life-changing event that caused them to use a whole lot more minutes. And when they'd call into the call center, it went something along the lines of, well, we gave you an opportunity to monitor your usage, and we even gave you a chance to change your plan. You really should have paid more attention. So it's really not a real positive experience for the customer service rep or the customer that's calling in. So we finally took it the next step, and we said, geez, we can help our customers. Let's keep track of their usage. We'll make a commitment to them to alert them as they're approaching the limits of the plans that they've set up. So that gives us an opportunity to create an environment for exceptional customer service. Instead of somebody after the fact calling us and saying, geez, I'm really unhappy because I've got this big bill, we're alerting them that, hey, you seem to be using a little bit more. Do you need to change your rate plan, or do you need to curtail your use in order to stay within your budget? So it's created that communication between us and our customers, so there's that environment for exceptional customer service. Along those same lines, kind of the policies and procedures, like I say, no contracts, creating an environment that allows us to really excel at a customer service level has been key to our success.
Let me pony on to what he's talking about. If you believe in what you're doing, for the service, now speak from the LifeStation perspective, like my friend John to the right, we don't have contracts with people. We don't have contracts because we believe that what we give them is far more than what they expect. And with that, you get trust. And you give them every reason to stay with you. You don't make it difficult for them to do business with you. Because if you do that, not only will they find a fast exit, those in the community network around them will find a fast exit. So applause to those of us like Consumer, Cellular, and LifeStation that have recognized you want to be measured every day by the difference you make in their lives. And if you do that, you'll have a long-term customer.
That's heartening, actually, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Next one.
I think a lot of this I've kind of already talked about, and I know I'm running out of time, so
Okay.
We'll let you take it from here.
Okay, well, I'll stay up here only because I have to push the button and talk at the same time. I'm in a company that also doesn't have any contracts, and we found that one of my guiding principles is that will this action I take cause people to be outside of my house with pitchforks and torches? Because my customers have certainly demonstrated to me that anytime we've made a misstep, that's just what they're about to do. It's amazing. And so what I thought I'd do is this part is just talk about what does this all look like? You know, if we've had the lay of the land, we've had how it's applied in a particular practice, and we've had how do you differentiate companies? Well, what is this overall experience like? How do you build it? How do you structure it? If you're a business and you're making these decisions from the beginning when you're forming a business, what do you do? And so I thought I'd put up some just general thoughts on this topic and then get into specifics. Everyone needs to drive, every business needs to drive awareness for your product to be able to get the customer to start with, to know who you are. How you do that is a lot of what everybody here has been talking about. Acquiring that customer and helping them gain knowledge about your product, consider it for purchase, and select it finally. That's all part of this process, along, of course, with keeping them and not driving them away, which really is the dirty little secret, I think, of so many companies, is they spend more effort driving people away than they do getting them to start with. So what do we do to do that? I mean, we apply a bunch of different disciplines against it, advertising, you know, social media and whatnot, and then we also use a lot of tools, whether it be new social media tools or whether it be search engine advertising or whether it be specific programs like lifetime support and no contracts, satisfaction guarantees, different specific things. But what these all conspire to do is define your brand. And what you're really doing with every single promise or with every single action in your business is that you're putting another plank into your brand promise and what it is. And so I try to always look and say to myself, will this decision I make today affect that overall brand, or what will it do? And a lot of times it's really difficult when you have a tough financial decision to make to quote unquote do the right thing. So what I looked for is an overarching principle to help with those decisions. And for me, it's all about user experience, as applied to product development, as applied to the way the receptionist answers the phone, whether you have a phone tree, whether you have a live human at all, call centers and how they're monitored and held accountable, how they're trained. And for me personally, I, as a CEO, make sure to stick my nose in everybody's business and let them know that, you know, great customer service is something that we absolutely demand. And it doesn't come innate in everybody, and so it's something that you have to constantly work on. But so I try to look at user experience not only in its formal definition as applied to a lot of product development practices, but also all the way through to retention and in every little corner of the company. And then I try to measure everyday decisions against that. And it sounds like you guys are doing exactly the same thing. We're all preaching to our own choir here and about that. Another interesting aspect, though, is to figure out how to demonstrate that user experience before the customer has to be asked to purchase the product. Is let them discover it somehow. Some of it is, Randy talked in the previous session about gamification and involving and engaging people in different ways than were traditionally the ones that companies would do. Other ways are through, of course, the tried and true demos or online experiences, but trying to foster that and helping people and families pass it around to other family members to engender word of mouth is something that I see as like the holy grail of building a company, really, and building a product. So we wanted, this is what we think, and what we wanted to do is open it up to you guys and have some questions or poignant thoughts or other type of interactions. And if you guys don't have questions off the top of your head, we have plenty of them for you. So open up for questions first. Go ahead, Nancy.
I've used Presto. I love Presto. But I didn't hear you say to the audience what you did. So would you tell us what Presto is?
Sure, sorry. It's just my company has a computerless email service where we provide a way for families to connect with their loved ones in the family who don't use computers and do that through email. And what we really focus on, and this is before I came to the company, the product and service is orchestrated to where the person using and receiving the paper emails out of the product don't have to know anything about Presto at all. They just pick up a piece of paper and read it. And the people sending don't need to know anything about the company either. So our user experience is to try to hide all that technology and have it not intrude on people's lives. And I think that the people who started the company did a good job at that. And in fact, I have found in my 20 whatever years of product development that what features you don't pick to put in the product many times are more important than the features that you end up putting in the product.
Let me build on that. Question you ought to be asking. How do you pick products and services? You really should. It's an organic question that seems obvious but isn't. Let me give you a different example. The business model for LifeStation is best of class worldwide. Best of class. Because you want to be current with what the demands are for the generation you're dealing with. My formative adult years were in the 60s and 70s, so I do remember satisfaction. I actually remember where I was when I first heard it and how much beer I'd probably been drinking at that point. But in the 60s, I know you're shocked. The 60s and 70s also means that I remember things that didn't work in the U.S. for product development. Let me give you two that'll give you an idea why best in class is so important. Do you remember the Edsel? Over-engineered, overpriced, didn't deliver what it said it should. Do you remember the Pacer? American Motors?
They were ugly.
Ugly, clunky, cheap, and inconsistent performance. When you're looking at best in class products and services, you have to be certain that you're aiming in at those that are not so complicated that the end user will be unhappy. So one of the issues I have with some of the products I've seen that are engineered is I feel like I've had 30-year-olds tell me what my mother at 85 will actually use. And I'm more than happy to have them talk to my mom. But it isn't going to work. So the business model we have is best in class and make sure it's a high-quality service and product that's well-attuned to what they actually need to make their life better.
So I have a question. How do you, let me just jump in here because I want to follow up on that. How do you, every company has its 20 and 30-year-olds in it. How do you make sure that they take the right actions to where they will ask the right questions and do the right things to become best in class?
Well, from us, it's really not necessarily product development, but it's really built around customer service. And I think customer service is not an age; it's an attitude and what you want to do, and putting people in a position where they can be successful. And so, as we talked about, creating an environment that you can provide excellent customer service and support, so that when the product is positioned to somebody, if you set up a product that's going to solve a need, and now you've got a support mechanism to help the person get the most value out of that product, has really been key for us. And that really is not, trying to bring somebody along, but it's how do you find people that want to provide that level of support. How do you bring them in and ingrain them in the culture, and then make sure that you give them the tools to be able to do so.
Yeah. Let me mirror that back. The LifeStation business model that's been very successful, it's a high-touch business. It's a very high-touch business. One more time, we're part of their family. And because we're part of their family, it really has an impact on whether or not people will not only stay with us, but will talk about us with the rest of their network, and will begin to talk about the types of support that they should be having. We're in a very small electronic community now. It's unlike what it was before, that we can have connectivity no matter what the geography is that they may be living in. Again, my mother's in California and I'm in Connecticut. Yet she can be as close to me as electronics will allow. It drives my wife nuts, but that's okay. And that's really the business model that we have, and it's one that's worked.
Was there a question out there? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Question, please. Oh. Boom, 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 boom.
Can you say more about what feedback mechanisms work to learn more about what elderly, what problems and so on, what they have with your products or what you can learn, and also perhaps what analytics you might be using to improve your process over time?
Yeah, well, certainly for us, I mean, it becomes a holistic approach. So it starts everywhere from anecdotal feedback that you're getting from your customers through channels such as Facebook and Twitter that they're sending messages around, to the more formal or research and formal processes. I think the couple of things that have worked really well for us is partnering with good organizations. And so Consumer Cellular formed a partnership with ARP 3 years ago. They do a lot of research to their members, and so we're able to really leverage that without having to do it ourselves, to get very direct feedback in terms of what are the things that people, what are we doing well, what do they want us to improve on, what are new services for us to provide. So in our case, being able to leverage the relationships that we have allows us to get access to more information than we probably would be able to on our own.
And I would say from Xerox's perspective, we're doing a lot of research in this area. So we have projects going on in healthcare analytics. We have work going out of our Palo Alto Research Center park, which people know about, on ubiquitous communication, which Peter talked about, being able to communicate without having to know that you're sending an email. It just is done. It's part of the integrated solution. And the work that we're trying to do in the prescription and pharma area around it, drug adherence. So we work as a service provider to our customers, and our customers are mostly healthcare payers and hospitals throughout the United States, and state agencies that are delivering Medicare and Medicaid. They've got lots of issues in this area, and they're looking for solutions that are integrated. And I think there's one other thing I forgot to mention is there was a component in the health reform that was overturned, the Class Act, and I don't know how many people are aware of that, but that was going to provide some funding that was going to cover long-term care. Well, that got turned down, and I think that one of the things that was mentioned by Bill was, the whole trust in the personal. Well, long-term care is a personal thing. If a family member is injured, they're not going to say, well, we're not going to get funding from the government to cover mom or dad's recovery. We're going to cover it. We're going to figure out how to help mom and dad recover. So this is a very personal thing that we're talking about, and these types of solutions are extremely important.
I also, to answer that question in my company, I say personally involved because if the leadership issue is big, to make sure that not only that you put in processes to keep your employees to be focused on this, and of course hiring the right people to start with, but I want people to I want to personally demonstrate how important it is, and so I'm the person who reads and responds back to every single person who puts something onto our forum, online forum. Certainly, I don't handle customer escalations until they get to the flaming level. But in terms of I try to carve out time to make sure that I'm involved in those type of things. Plus, we use something that's called it was from the book called The Ultimate Question. It's called the Net Promoter Score. A company called Symmetrics uses it. And many of you are probably familiar with it. It's you ask your customers, what would you recommend this product to a friend? It's one question, and you take a point scale from 1 to 10, and then you take from 1 to 6, and those are your net detractors. You take the 8s, the 9s, and the 10s, and those are your net promoters, and you throw away the 6 and the 7s, so 8, 9s, and 10s. I forget the exact cutoff. Anyway, and then you subtract those two, and you come up with a score. And the last time I read, the average American company scored about 10 points on the Net Promoter Scale, whereas leading companies in America like Apple and Harley Davidson, other large brands, FedEx and whatnot, are in the 60 to 70 point range. And we track this very closely with not only the users who receive emails for Presto, but also the adult family members who purchased our service and to send emails. And we track it over time. We do it every quarter, and we make sure that if something is going awry, we try to address it and find out how. And it's a way to kind of wrap your head around in one simple metric of how your company's doing, and ultimately the end result is if you get people to say that yes, I would recommend this to a friend, it almost doesn't get better than that. Of course, then you want to dig down below that. So, other questions? Bill, you want to take that? Or?
Yeah, from a LifeStation standpoint, there is no communication that's not recorded. There's management that looks at and listens to everything. It's a constant redundancy in the way we communicate with our end user. It's not because LifeStation believes that we're doing it wrong. It's we believe that we will learn and be better by learning from how we have interacted with that end user or his or her family on a more effective basis. But it's constantly listening to the stream of communication that's happening. Again, in the end, this may be about technology under it all, but it's really about the human connection. And what drives me nuts is when, especially in this business that we're in, is when people only talk about the side that's the technology. It's so distant from what the real core competence is in this business. And that's the ability to high-touch people. High-touch people. And that's the LifeStation business is all about the high touch with the person. So the last PowerPoint I put up that showed a scattergram on what are the causes for people leaving service, the first 30 days, unfortunately, is people get permanently institutionalized or die. Well, I can't do a lot about either one of those. That really means that unfortunately we probably connected with that individual and his or her family way too late. But even for that, the few weeks we gave them hope is a few weeks of hope they didn't have before. And it's a very important touch.
Hi, my name is Avi Kulkarni. I work with a small startup company called Panhealth. And we are creating high-touch solutions for improving patient compliance. My question to all of you is, if you can give some pointers on how do we pilot this program to create some validation for the technologies we have created.
So I don't know what connections you have in universities or with customers in the United States, but a good way to do that is to start to network, and I'm sure there's some groups that are in the long-term care market that you could present to and demonstrate what you're developing. I would recommend that. We do a lot with research universities, so our research is not only with the 400 researchers we have worldwide, but we also do a lot of work in collaboration with universities.
I'll make a pitch for joining the Aging Technology Alliance also, which is a great little trade group. And quite honestly, the biggest value will just be talking and having access to and talking to other CEOs who have exactly the same question as you. And sometimes saying, well, we don't know how to do this, let's figure it out together. And that's a great place to start.
And coming to this innovation conference.
Sure. Thank you.
Well, what I'm hearing here, I think we're out of time, right, Sherry? And so what I'm hearing here is actually three things. I'm hearing leadership, I'm hearing corporate culture, and I'm hearing passion are the topics that carry the day. It's through those things that you will be able to get excellent customer service and really solve the problems of acquisition and retention, because they come along with that. If you treat people the way they need to be treated to be able to adopt your product, love your product, and retain your product, there's nothing more to do. So it's, for me, I just wanted to thank everyone, John, Bill, and Denise, for this. This was a very instructive seminar for me, and I'm going to go back and try to figure out how I can focus on some of the things that you guys have all said and improve what I'm doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter and John and Bill and Denise, I mean, as Peter said, this is, you know, when it comes to customer service, it's probably one of the most important things when you think about your business. You might have a really fantastic product, you might have a really fantastic marketing campaign, but if you can't support that product or service, you're not going to be successful. So this panel was excellent. Thank you so much for your comments.